artist at play has been doing things for 3 years now. This is our third production. It's Cowboy versus Samurai. The play itself has been around for actually quite a number of years. It had been on our radar for a while. We actually wanted to do it last year, but things kind of fell through with rights and what have you. And I think in the end, the timing just kind of worked out perfectly. Our director, Peter J. Kuo, actually did go on a road trip through the Midwest and did a little research and brought back stories and photos and video, which was actually really neat to observe. So my character Veronica kind of comes into this town. Veronica and Travis really kind of hit it off. But it's you can tell there's just kind of an easy banter, this kind of nice rapport that immediately comes up between them. But yes, she then also meets Dell, played by Daniel, who recruits Travis to write love letters on his behalf to Veronica. And then hilarity and also sadness ensue.
Why do I feel like
She's probably one of those girls from the popular crowd, but like doesn't know it. And I think there's something really nice and unassuming about how cool she is. And I think that's part of what makes her attractive.
He finds out pretty early on that Veronica's got preferences, and he falls outside of those preferences. And but nonetheless, they become friends. He starts to have feelings for her, but at the same time, he's sort of loyal to his friend.
I had seen their last show, and just loved it. I loved Edith Can Shoot Things and Hit Them. It was such a just well done play. And when Julia let some of her friends know, hey, we're casting this, so if you think there's parts you write for, or if you know people write for them, submit. And so I submitted. I had actually seen the closest production in San Diego, so I knew the show well enough to know that there was a role I could play in it. So I submitted through Julia, and then I went through the audition process. So I played Dell in this production, and Dell and Chester were both born and raised in Wyoming. And Dell he's a PE teacher. He's a little bit of a stoner. He still lives at his dad's house. He kind of never grew up, and he's just longing for something different in his life. He's grown up with sameness his entire life, and when Veronica comes into town, he's immediately drawn to her, but he's terrible with words. He's been plagued by the inability to come up with things to say his whole life, so he just has no idea how to approach her, because he doesn't know, she's from New York, she's so different from him, he doesn't know how to even start talking to her. So he ends up getting Travis involved to help put his feelings to words.
Well, I play Chester, and Chester is the titular samurai of the title. He is an Asian adoptee living in Wyoming, but the twist is that he doesn't know what type of Asian he is exactly, because the adoption agency went out of business before his parents could find out exactly where he's from, and so he is on this lifelong search to find out just what kind of Asian he is, and just who he is exactly, and how he fits in this world. And I'm kind of there to muck up the works in this very nice little love triangle. It's a love triangle plus me. Basically, is how I look at it. Basically, it's Chester's story, and there's some other stuff going on. That's yeah. I frankly don't know. This is the first time hearing of this. Actually, I just say, oh, it's like that, because that sounds delightful. I would love to see that. But yeah, yeah. Well,
Cowboy versus Samurai within Chester.
Yeah.
On top of the kind of like more interpersonal stuff in terms of looking at love and friendship and things like that, I think it also gets you to think about race in a different way, and especially specifically thinking about race as it relates to your dating preferences, and looking at if you have preferences and where those come from, and if they're things that are really natural to you, or something that's some belief that you've created about yourself that may not be true. I think there's not really that many pieces that look at that particular issue in depth and make that a main point of analysis. And this show really does look specifically at dating preferences as they relate to race and explores why those things happen and what they mean in terms of racism or not racism, or is it just a preference that I have, or is it something that I'm, I maybe am wrong about.
I mean, it's a complex issue, and what's great about how Michael Golamco, the playwright, deals with it in Cowboy versus Samurai is that it doesn't examine it in a didactic or academic way, but with subtlety and humor and yeah, and not a preachy way. I mean the themes of race and racial bias and preferences, what have you. It's underlying, but also overt in certain scenes, in certain exchanges between the characters, and I think at the end of the day, there is no pat answer. We're all people. There's a line in the story. We're all confused people, and at the heart of it, yeah, we're all kind of trying to find our way through life, and especially if you're on and off.
And as far as the question of interracial relationships and are they right or wrong, this play does answer that question. It is wrong, and do not do it. So but I gave away the ending.